topic. I hope that, as always, each of you are doing well. Been having some great weather here, and I hadn't been able to get in my go-kart, my little go-kart I drive around in, but I'm gonna have to hook the battery up and charge it up. But other than that, things are well, and it is my hope that today that you're healthy, that you're well. Remember to take care of yourself, because nobody's gonna love you like you love you, and continue to strive forward and be the best that you can be. So hit the thumbs up button. I certainly would appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate that also. So today we're going to talk about the 1923 Grand Lodge rule that was set down or brought into existence by the UGLE. I'm gonna say this again. In 1923, the Grand Lodge of England put out a statement. It was more so for them, but the document, and I have it, I have to post it, but I have a document that says that in 1923, the Grand Lodge of England set down the rules of Masonic amenity or Masonic regulations, saying that in order for your Grand Lodge, or in order for you to formulate a Grand Lodge, you need 3 chartered lodges. And how did the process, they sit down and they put together that whole process. And so for the most part, most, if not all, Grand Lodges have followed that standard, that protocol from the Grand Lodge of England, 1923. Now, my question would be, what about those lodges that was established long before 1923 rules and regulations that was put down by the UGLE? We must look at history itself. We all know, for those who've studied it, those who've read it for themselves, know that the Grand Lodge of England started in a bar when some brothers of the craft met from various lodges and decided to formulate this thing we call a Grand Lodge as we know it today. Okay? There were already lodges, but they made it more organized by establishing what we call today a Grand Lodge. And it has changed over time. Some things has been, done away with and added to. So, but with that being said, as we look at this system of Freemasonry, we say the 3 lodge rule. Whose rules is that? Because long before that rule was even established, Grand Lodges was organized by individuals who were Masons, and they came together and formulate themselves into a Grand Lodge. It was done by what you call an assembly of brothers, or assembly sorts. They call it a Grand Assembly. Okay, so there were several ways before 1923 that lodges were developing into a Grand Lodge. Now, and I say that particularly for those of the ancient free and accepting Masons, which resides in the Black diaspora of Freemasonry. Okay, those Grand Lodges, such as Hiram Atari here in California, which was organized in 1909, 1908, if I'm not mistaken, which makes it the 3rd oldest Grand Lodge in California. However, with that being said, I do know that there was 3 lodges that organized that lodge back then, and that was in 1903. However, if you look at other Black institution Masonic lodges that was formulated long before that, I don't know if they had 3 lodges or not. I don't know. However, that's been the stigma for a lot of Masonic Grand Lodges, is that you must have had 3 lodges to organize your Grand Lodges. And those lodges must have gotten their charter from a Grand Lodge. And then from there, you develop your bylaws and constitution, which is going to govern you. And out of those lodges that formulate that Grand Lodge, you're going to select your Grand Lodge officers. That's the rules and standards that has been set down for the past 101 years. This is 2004. That rule was established in 1923. Now, if you don't believe me, go look this up for yourself and find out for yourself. And then in the process of doing that, you have to look at the mere fact that the Grand Lodge of England established that for themselves. That's the way they set down the rules, established that for themselves. They said in order for a Grand Lodge to be regular, constituted, and for them to have Masonic recognition with, you must have been established by 3 lodges, chartered by a Grand Lodge, and they give you the whole rundown. As I said before, I do have this particular document, and I don't mind sharing it or emailing it to you. Not at all. I just have to make sure when I get home to find it, and I'll make sure I get it to you. But with that being said, we must look at the totality of it all. I mean, if you're going to take a bunch of guys who are Masons, who met in a tavern and said this would be a good system, and they put together this system. And then not only that, if you read that history, it says that if anybody that does not abide by this system, we will consider them to be irregular and clandestine. Now, in the Scottish Rite Volume 1 and 2, it states that. It states that when they met, this was what they had said. This is some of the things that was put into record. You know, that if you did not, or if you were not established by 3, no, I'm going to change that. That in the establishment of the Grand Lodge of England at the time when they met at the tavern, what I'm trying to convey is that what they said was, look, if they don't get their charter, or if they don't come through us, then they are considered this. Okay, as I said before, you can look this up for yourself. I don't have to go back and forth with you, tell me I produce this or produce that, but I will produce that document I am talking about regarding the fact that they did say this. Oh, you got the book? So what I'm looking at is that when we look at the rules of the lodges, and when we look at the rules of a Grand Lodge, who rules are you abiding by? Who set these standards? Now, if you're going by the rules of the Grand Lodge of England and they set these standards for you, but you have no Masonic recognition with them, then you must establish and set forth your own rules and regulations, which is going to govern you and how you're going to recognize Masonic lodges and how you're going to establish your foundation. Too many times we allow other organizations to tell us how to operate. Granted, there are rules and regulations that has been laid down for over 300 more years in regards to the foundation of Freemasonry. Okay, we do know that. Now it's up to you whether you want to apply your Grand Lodge to those rules and standards. It's up to your body. It's up to your Masonic body to abide by those landmarks that you will find out of Mackey's jurisprudence. Now, it is a well-known fact that some Masonic institutions do not abide by all of those landmarks out of Mackey's jurisprudence. However, if you really want to get down to it, those 25 landmarks, they didn't come overnight, okay? There were landmarks long before those 25, all right? As time went on, they began to add more and more and more. If you have a 1961 Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, and if you look for Masonic landmarks, they're going to show you three sets of landmarks. Okay, one has 9, one has about 15, and the other one is 24. Those 24 landmarks are not that old. I'm gonna say this again. Those 24 landmarks that you find in Mackey's jurisprudence are not that old. They're practically pretty young compared to the others that I found. And as I said, if you wanna know exactly what I got from, I got it out of Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, the 1961 version. Okay, that's the part. That's the one you need. I don't know if they are reprinted in any other Masonic encyclopedia. I don't know. Because also in this same Masonic encyclopedia, you will find them talking about John G. Jones. He's even mentioned in that Masonic encyclopedia. So I trust that because it's an older version. And a lot of times when you're reading material, the older the material is, the more in my opinion, it's more a little bit more trustworthy when you get a revised copy of something. This is a revised copy because there's something always left out of the revised copy. So if you're just turning in, I want to say greetings to you. I hope that you're having a great day. It is my hope and prayer that your family is well. But today we're talking about the 3 lodge rule to establish a Grand Lodge, and we're talking about how Grand Lodges was established before that rule was set in place by the United Grand Lodge of England. I'm gonna say that again. The established rules for 3 lodges was put in place by the Grand Lodge of England, 1923. That's who put that rule into place. Before that rule became what you would consider a legal document to most Grand Lodges. Most Grand Lodges at that time before that was formulated in what you call an assembly of lodges, or a group of brothers got together and formulated themselves into a Grand Lodge. You can take, for instance, the Grand Lodge of New Jersey, mainstream Grand Lodge of New Jersey, just organized. It just organized. It was not a chartered lodge or a chartered group of brothers. It was a group of men, just a handful came together. We're all Masons, right? Yeah, we're going to organize ourselves into a lodge. They did that. So as I said some time ago, all Masonic institutions got some stuff behind them. There's not one that can say we was the way we was done, it was pure. There's not one, okay? There's always been something behind other Grand Lodges in their establishment. It is up to you and your Grand Lodge who you choose to accept or not accept as a Masonic institution. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're looking at documentation that says that in order for your Grand Lodge to have Masonic recognition with another one, you must meet these criteria. You both must agree on the criteria in order for it to happen, because you must find that middle ground. And this is what has happened within the framework of Freemasonry. Most Grand Lodges find the middle ground that assist and aid them in having that Masonic recognition with most lodges. So when you look back at 1923 and that document came out and then it begins to spread abroad, this is where it came from. This is where it came from. So this is why the Grand Lodge of England doesn't have recognition with the Grand Lodge of France, because the Grand Lodge of France doesn't have a Bible on its altar. And that was one of the rules for the Grand Lodge of England, that you must have a Bible on your altar if you wanted to have Masonic recognition. That's just one of them. And the Grand Lodge of France was like, no, we good with that. We're going to go back to the ancient customs to where it was only the compass and square. Okay? It was only the compass and square on the Masonic altar, period. We say the VSL, you know, and if you're in the United States, you're going to say the Holy Bible, square, and the compass. But it's really a volume of sacred law. What is your volume of sacred law? What is it? Some lodges hold that their constitution and their bylaws are their volume of sacred law. Okay? That's what they say. Greetings. What's going on, T. Jinx? They say that their volume of sacred law is the constitution and bylaws which governs it. So they will consider it to be their volume of sacred law. And I mentioned other times where brothers who've come through my lodge have said they'll rather take their oath or obligation upon those items instead of a Bible or Quran. Which you have a choice to do. You have a choice of having it. This is why in some lodges you find multiple volumes of sacred law upon the altar, because none of us have the same ideology when it comes to having views of beliefs. Okay? None of us do. Take your point of shake your ass. What? I can't show that. I got to keep that going, bro. Skyland, I got to keep going on that one, bro. I can't have that one. No, I can't. I can't have that one. You know. But with that being said, as you begin to divest and look into those rules and regulations, then you're going to have your Grand Lodge is going to have to set its own standards. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to come out of the gate, set those standards, and be who you claim to be. You cannot call yourself, I'm just saying, this is just my opinion based upon the information I have and I've read and studied for myself. You just can't take something somebody else has said or have and apply it to yourself. And then when you think or you want to be recognized by them and they say no, you can't do it. I'm going to say it again. You can't take what somebody else's document, apply that to yourself, and then expect for them to recognize you. You know why you can't do it? Because there's going to have to be some changes to the document. There's going to have to be some changes to the document. This is why when you set those standards and formulate your own document, and then when you are seeking Masonic recognition, the document itself is going to have to be changed in order that you and that other Grand Lodge mirror each other in what you're trying to do, accomplish, show unity, whatever that may look like. You're going to almost mirror that particular body, but you're going to have to find common ground when you're doing that. So the doctrine of exclusive territory was a United States thing. I'm going to say that again. The doctrine of exclusive territory, that was a United States doctrine that is not found nowhere else other than the United States. Okay? Period. Point blank. Now, if someone else says, no, that was not, I've already proved that. Once again, all you got to do is when you started looking at things, look at why they didn't want Masonic recognition with other Grand Lodges in various states. Just look at it. Look at it for what it's worth. Don't look at it because I said it. Go find out for yourself. I can tell you most of the information I come across, I go to the Masonic encyclopedias. I usually go into the older Masonic encyclopedia because I find that they're more on point or on task when giving information. The revised versions of a lot of these things that a lot of information are left out. I have my own set of Masonic encyclopedias from 1922. Okay, I have a 100-year-old set of Masonic encyclopedias that was given to me. So when I look into them and I begin to formulate, there's nowhere in these Masonic encyclopedia where they're really talking about African-American Masons or colored Masons. There's nowhere in there that they're mentioned. It's all about them. It's all about how they was developed. It's all about how they have set standards and rules. So most of the rules and standards that we try to abide by, that most of us are claiming, was rules that was written for someone else in their Masonic jurisdiction. So we choose to take on those same traits. We've chosen to take on those same traits, and when you take on those same traits, it really, it does something, and it does something. When you try to take on someone else's traits, you need to set your own standards, your own protocols, your own thing, because as soon as you try to take on or be like somebody else, Masonically, are you just trying to fit in to be in? Or are you trying to say, I'm legitimately who I am? Because there was customs laid down long before the ones that we know today. And I know most of you consider Mackey's jurisprudence as being the law on Freemasonry. No, it is just one of many books in regards to the law on Freemasonry. I'm going to say that again. Mackey's jurisprudence is just one of many books on the laws and rules of Freemasonry. It's just one. Another book I have is called, it's a Lockwich book. It is a book on the Masonic law and principles. Okay? Very similar to Mackey's, have some of the things that Mackey's put in there, but I think that book is very helpful for Masonic organizations and their forms and information. Now, as I said, you're going to have to develop your own rules and regulation that's going to govern you. I say that all the time because so many times you go and take upon other people's rules and regulations it may not work well for you as it worked well for other Masonic jurisdictions. I'm just saying that. So as you venture in, as you see for yourself, it's revolving. It continues to revolve. It to continuously grow. Operation Second Storm. What works in one house may not work in necessarily in it. And absolutely, because this is what I found. When your Grand Lodge has 57,000 members or 50,000 members, if you have a Grand Lodge that size, that's not going to work over here where I'm at. What you're doing and what I'm doing are totally two different things. And you have to find your lane, fit in your lane, be able to develop those who come through your lodge, help them to be the best Mason they can be. Not a good man, but a Mason. I'm going to say that again. Not a good man, but a Mason, because you who are Masons, and when you do your interview, that person's already supposed to be a upstanding citizen. Okay, he already supposed to be an upstanding citizen, not an outstanding citizen, but an upstanding citizen. And so when you bring him into your lodge, you're teaching him how to be a Mason, because he is already an upstanding citizen. So in the process of doing that, you want that person to benefit and enjoy Freemasonry. That's what you want for that person. Now, if you don't want that from him, then there may be something different. But I'm just saying, when you look at the totality of Freemasonry and those ancient landmarks, it's like, wow. And you got to realize this. In the beginning of it all, there was only like maybe 6 landmarks. I mean, original ancient landmarks. I'm not talking about what Mackey's put down. I'm talking about ancient landmarks, because what has happened is a lot of people feel within the confines of Mackey's, you can't bring a Grand Master up on charges. There's nowhere in Mackey's where it talks about a Grand Master being brought up on any Masonic charges. You and I both know that some of these Grand Masters get out of hand and they think they're a god. They would take your buildings, they would sell your property if you're a lodge. So you must have some foundational work in place to protect yourself from a rogue Grand Master, a rogue secretary, okay? I mean a rogue treasurer, not a secretary, but a rogue treasurer. Because they'll come in and you got him sitting in as a treasurer, and you got that Grand Master in there. You don't know if they're collaborating together. You don't know that, and we all know that that this has happened. So you must be able to protect yourself and put in your constitution and your bylaws are going to be best suited for you. So when a Grand Master gets out of hand, you're protected. There are rules that will protect you. There are some Grand Lodges that doesn't have a term limit for Grand Masters. There are some that do. There are some Grand Lodges that elect Grand Masters every 2 years, maybe every 3. There are some lodges that says every year we'll elect a new Grand Master, or maybe re-elect the same one that's in. And that's okay. It may work for you. That's all right. But you definitely, within your constitution and bylaws, you definitely want to set standards that's going to protect your Grand Lodge and make sure that that Grand Master doesn't do anything crazy. I've been through that. I've been through some crazy Grand Masters in my time. And when you begin to formulate those constitution, those bylaws, they need to trickle down to your lodges. Your lodge bylaws cannot exceed the constitution or bylaws of your lodge. I'm going to say this again, of your Grand Lodge. I'm going to say this again. Your Blue Lodge constitution and bylaws, or your Blue Lodge bylaws, cannot super exceed that which of the Grand Lodge bylaws and constitution. It can't super exceed it. It can't. Where can I find those landmarks? Once again, if you can probably Google, or you can go definitely to the 1961 Coors Masonic Encyclopedia. I really like that Masonic Encyclopedia. You would definitely find it there under landmarks. You will find it in the Coors Masonic Encyclopedia 1961 landmarks. And as I said, that is the only Masonic Encyclopedia where I found that it mentions John G. Jones' names in there. It mentions Prince Hall, it mentions a lot of things that you would not expect that you can find. Also, it mentions the mere fact that in the earlier days of Freemasonry, mainstream Grand Lodge tried to set up a national Grand Lodge. I'm going to say that again because some of y'all missed that. In the earlier days of Freemasonry, mainstream Grand Lodge, as we know it, tried to establish a national Grand Lodge. That's a fact. Okay. They had quite a few different conventions, right? Trying to establish this national Grand Lodge. But what happened is that some of the lodges felt that if there was one person that governed every Grand Lodge, then they themselves would lose power. That's what they came to. Okay. But they tried it. The only thing is that they was really unsuccessful in doing it. When the African American Masons decided to formulate in 1947, if I'm not mistaken, the National Compact of Grand Lodges, or the National Grand Lodges, that was actually successful. However, as time went on, and some of the brothers of the craft, or some of the Grand Masters, seeing that the state Grand Lodges was more what you call sovereign per se, they themselves then wanted to be like that. I'm gonna say that again. They themselves wanted to be like that. So a lot of them started to withdraw from the national. But Matthews, what is Matthews' name? Who became the National Grand Master, reestablished the foundation of the national and began to really bring it back home, bring it back together. It was under his leadership that the national really came back to life, although it was almost destroyed. So as we begin to look at Masonry and those three lodges rules and the three Grand Lodge rule, the three lodge rules to develop a lodge and Grand Lodges, as you begin to look into that, then you're going to see the development and changes that came along with that. Greetings, brothers and sisters. How you doing, everybody? I appreciate that. Anita, how you doing? Curtis, how you doing? So that's what we're looking at. So when you begin to really go into and pulling out some of these things, man, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. You would honestly be surprised. And that's what I've found in my own studies, because I was talking with Brother Simley, Solomon. I'm going to say it like that. I was talking with Brother Solomon. He knows exactly who I'm talking about because I mess his name up all the time. Anyway, he asked me a profound question. He asked me, he said, look, Brother Tony, are you an educator or are you a teacher? I had to think about that for a moment. And I'm not going to give my answer here, but he knows exactly what I said. We've had that conversation before. And it really made me think, because what he asked me to do was go look up the words and see what they mean. See what the word teacher mean and see what the word educator mean. They may not be what you think. They may not be what you think. And I told him, after he broke that information down to me, I said, look, bro, everybody ain't meant to know everything. The book that he has a new book out, and I'll share that with you. I don't have it before me, but if he's on here, he can post his new book. And I don't have it with me, but I told him the other day, I said, man, I don't think everybody needs to have this book. I don't. You can purchase it, but I just don't think everybody needs to have it, because the book in itself will tell you the things they didn't want you to know. The book itself, when you open up his book, it'll say the things they don't want you to know. And he puts it out there in front and center. Now, whether you like it or not, it is what it is. It was 1847, the national. Why you take that down, brother? Come on, Anthony, don't do that. Come on, Anthony. Come on, babe. Babe, put it back up there. Come on, put it back up there now. Stop playing. Stop playing. But anyway, so we need to start looking at this from different points of views and really get into finding out information for yourself and coming up with your own answers based on your own information that you have found to be legitimate and factual, not something that somebody, oh, this is this, and now you're going to teach that. you'll catch it on the way home. Find out if the information is factual or not. And when you do that, then a lot of things you think is gonna change. It's definitely gonna change. So look, it's always difficult when you're trying to relay information, but I try to do it in such a way to I can tell you where to go find it at. Okay, I can tell you where to go find it at. The National Compact started in 1847. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely 100 years, huh? Yeah. So I appreciate that. Absolutely. So we need to indulge ourselves in good information, and really begin to take on these leadership roles in masonry and making sure that the information we have is factual information. That's what I'm saying. That's what I see, and I hope you will begin to do that. So look, oh yeah, I know you did. I know you did, Brother Bay. I know you did. Brother Bay, I just want to send you a big shout out to you and your jurisdiction. Thank you so much for the information you have shared with me, and I know you have shared a lot of great information. So I'm going to cut it short today. I appreciate you coming on and joining me. Look, man, whatever you do, stay out the bushes, keep your light on. Be the example of what it is to be a Mason and a sister of the Order of the Eastern Star. I appreciate each of you. God bless you and keep you. Until we see each other again, peace and be well.